Sea Viper. Whoop. Nope, that's not Sea Viper. Here we go. Alright. This is a very cool character. After you resolve a continuous boost, you may strike. People often misread this. What this means is, basically, your continuous boosts say, now you may strike. In other words, when you put it into play. That's what resolve means. It's just we chose a confusing word for it back in Season 1. So it goes. So, your continuous boosts let you strike when you play them, as soon as you play them. That's awesome. That's incredible, right? Like, +2 power and strike normally would be an additional force cost on whatever it was on. +2 speed now strike is normally a 2 force cost, right? Or a 1 force on an ultra, generally. So you're getting away with murder here. Like, you can play on curve spike just by going light, strike. Your spike is on curve. Your opponent can't do anything to deal with it. That's extremely strong. It is very resource hungry though. So we're gonna have to care a lot about how well she draws cards. And that will determine essentially whether this ability is very good or amazing. Alright. Where do we begin? Well, excuse me. Let's take a look at some speeds. See me. Speed 5, speed 5, speed 1 or maybe 4, speed 4, speed 5, speed 5, speed 2. She likes 5, evidently. So we'll go through them in that order. That's not a 1, that's a 4. Alright. Anyway. So Burning Kick. Alright. Goofy looking art notwithstanding, because that's going to be initial on all the Sea Viper cards. 2 to 3, 4, 5. No before effects. That's an on-curve card, right? Like, or under curve at range 2. But it's speed 3 range, or speed 5 range 3. On curve. 4 damage. Just like Assault. Critical hit, the opponent has -2 power and gain advantage. So it needs to critical to gain advantage, so it's worse than Assault. The opponent has -2 power, obviously makes it a little bit better. Basically gives it 2 armor. And then after close 1. Whether that's good or not depends on what her ranges are. But at range 3, that takes you to range 2, which, at a glance, is fine. She's probably going to prefer range 3, though, just because of how her ability works. Because at range 3, you can throw +2 power, assault, +2 speed, spike, +2 speed, dive, like +2 power, EX dive, right? Like, you got all those options. So this being on curve is good. It's another way to confirm power. The attack is, like, fine. This is a very middling to mediocre special. Blazing, +1 power, ignore armor. Have you ever seen anything as good at closing games as this? Because remember, this says +1 power, ignore armor, now strike. Or now you may strike, excuse me. So 4 power grasp that ignores armor. If you are low enough on life, you just die. That's really good. Yeah, that bumps the card up a bit, I think, just because of how important that boost is. Emergency Combination, or IMCOM, as I affectionately refer to it, excuse me. 2 to 3, 3, 5, so another on curve, no movements. Before, if you have a continuous boost and play +2 power, so it gets 5 power. So this is basically 2 to 3, 5, 5. That's fine. Right? Now the important thing about that is because of her ability, that's going to hit 2, 3, 7, 5, or 2, 3, 5, 7 if she wants. Which are important breakpoints, for sure. So this is a good card. Honestly, the attack is better than Burning Kick. Like, for sure. Then Hidden Weapons. Draw 2 cards, add to your gauge. 1 force. So 1 force, draw 2. Okay, so this is key charge, but also draw a card. Right? Is my math correct here? Yes. It's key charge +1, and a change cards action, which is important, because we know she's going to care about drawing. Like, econ is a big deal. So, also gauge. So, we need to know how much she cares about gauge. Let's look over her critical effects and then her exceed cost. This critical is, like, okay, but, like, you need a critical to bring it up to being better than Assault instead of just being much worse than Assault, so that's not very impressive. Critical ignore guard, that's great. It's under curve, but still. No crit. Critical plus 3 speed, that makes it on curve, which is good. Critical hit, draw 3 cards, that's fantastic. It's an attack that's extremely hard to confirm though. No crit. And then ultras, 3 gauge for an on curve ignore armor. Well, she has blazing, so she doesn't need it, right? Like the main reason you would want this is for the ignore armor, but she has blazing, so meh. And then 4 gauge for 10 power. Yeah, sometimes you want 10 power and stun immunity. That's pretty good. Alright. Those who know Viper have been waiting for this. What about her Exceed ability? When you Exceed, draw 5 cards. That is the most important part of this text, in my opinion. You're spending 3 gauge to draw 5, right? So you're getting a much better than normal change cards action at the same time that you're upgrading your ability, and you're getting a reload. So if you were low on hands, you're now back on full hands, and you can keep that aggression going. That's a big deal. She needs this effect. She needs to Exceed. I don't think Viper survives if she doesn't. Because, like, at some point, if you're not using this Exceed effect, you're playing fair, and you should not be doing that. You should be crushing people with an endless barrage of insane combinations. Alright, what's the rest of this? After you resolve a continuous boost, you may strike. If you do, your attack is critical. Okay, so same as the front, right? But in addition to this, it's, and if you do, your attack is critical. Okay. So suddenly, hey, she doesn't actually care about these gauge costs at all. So yeah, just Succeed. Like, and this key charge, plus the existence of block, plus generally on-curve options, means that she can get the gauge if she wants it. So that's great. Also, like, yeah, move that up. I'm being a little bit unfair here in terms of speaking from experience, because normally I try to just evaluate the kit right in front of me. But remember what I said. This is an incredibly card-intensive ability, just based on how it works. Even if I just look at it on face value, it's like, okay, you're going through cards twice as fast, right? You're spending 2 cards per strike if you're using this. We need to know how much card draw you have, and this is an exceptionally good card draw ability. That's super important. So that goes to the top. This is probably up there just because it helps you guarantee it. Even though the attack is... no, honestly. These are both mostly important for their boosts. Like, the attacks are good. Well, the attack is fine, the attack is good. But these boosts are super, super important. Alright, let's look at Thunderknuckle, aka Thunkle. 135 before close 1. So it's range 1 and 2. Speed 5. That's under curve. Power 3. That's nothing to write home about. Ignore guard. Okay, 3 power matters now, right? 3 power ignore guard means that it stuns focus, because 3 is more than 2. You can figure. That's great. And hey, if you attach light to this with your Exceed ability, then that becomes on or above curve ignore guard. That's really good. Doesn't do much damage, but that's really good. Great at diffusing threats, right? Electrifying. Hit spin up to 4 force, reach 4 spin, plus 1 power. So this is a good boost. See me, but it hits her right in the weak point, right? See me. This is another way to spend like resources you might not have. So I'm concerned. Yeah, we want draw, we don't want spend. So I think that's maybe not super important to her, maybe not a big part of her power budget, even though it's clearly a good effect. Because here's the thing, right? If she's using her ability effectively, this means that as long as she's about even, she can close the game immediately. So she should be perfectly willing to trade life very consistently, as long as she's able to maintain the aggressive edge and have enough cards to throw at the opponent. Just pick up her deck and chuck it in their face. So based on that, like, she doesn't really, like, this is about stunning, this is about being safe. She doesn't probably need to do that a lot. She's probably willing to trade. And the on-curve cards that are kind of mediocre tell us that. Alright. Burning Dance. Well, like I said, the attack is fine, but it's an ignore armor. It's on-curve ignore armor, and we have on-curve ignore armor whenever we want it. So why would I spend 3 gauge on this? Hit push 8 after close 8 puts us in the corner at range 1. Range 2 to 3, range 2 to 3, range 2 to 5, range 1 to 2. The positioning isn't even that good. Stylish. The opponent has +3 power. Now draw 3 cards, take another action. Which, by the way, take another action really means like regain your turn action. You can't gain extra actions in a turn. It's that your turn action is regained. So if you have 2 effects that make you take another action, you just get 1 extra action. Alright, so draw 3 cards, take another action, which could be to strike, or you could ignore that and instead strike with your character ability. Or you could play another boost and strike with your character ability. Lots of options. The opponent has +3 power. Now draw 3 cards, take another action. So this says, draw 3 cards, take another action. Make sure that that second action involves you winning the strike cleanly. Yeah, this seems great. This actually seems fantastic. Because if you're, like I said, if you're doing this engine right, then you should be playing a thing that they just can't deal with. So it doesn't matter that they have power, because they can't hit you. They will either get stunned or they will evade. If they evade, whatever, you got your value. That's another. Again, this is prioritized very highly because it's a source of cards on a character whose ability is intrinsically card hungry. All right, Seismic Hammer, 2 to 5, 5, 1. Except maybe it's 2 to 5, 5, 4. So at best on curve, and probably not really on curve. After move up to 2 is good. So this means it's unusually safe, right? So like at range 4, it's a safer version of dive if it's critical. Funnily enough, actually, I guess it's in some ways it's safer anyway because it beats sweep always, right? If it's not critical, then it's slower. So sweep misses and then this hits and comes in after, which is quite good. So Seismic Hammer is a projectile, and just having a projectile is important. Anyone familiar with the Fireball meta or the like strategic concepts behind it knows having a projectile, having an attack that hits at range that does not automatically mean you move in, is important, and it's a distinction that matters in kits. So, range 4 option that doesn't move you in, non-trivial. What about this boost? Blasting, +1 power, +5 guard. Okay, so mostly this is a +5 guard and strike boost for 1 force, which is not bad. The extra power is nice. Honestly, without the extra power, it probably wouldn't be worth it, just because converting, like taking this 5 power card, which is one of her highest printed powers, like her highest printed power on a special for sure, and throwing it into a boost means you need to be sure you're getting that power elsewhere. So it's good that the boost has power on it. With 5 guard, like I talked about this a little bit earlier with Gabrick, if you don't have good if you don't have good effective range on your cards, guard isn't that big a deal. So guard is good against projectiles if you have things like dive or whatever, if you just need to be able to move in and you accept that you're getting hit. Other than that, guard is mostly good on assaults or the things that have like before close movement, because that's where it's like, oh, I'm going to move closer as long as I'm not stunned, and this helps you not get stunned. And assault typically doesn't have defenses, right? But yeah, so like +5 guard on this doesn't make it beat assault, doesn't make it beat cross, doesn't make it beat grasp. So like, what's the point? And these, like, if you're striking with these, you're already stunning the defensive thing, like the defensive assault. You're not going to beat the cross even if you have the guard, because if they're faster, they're just out of the way. So I feel like this boost does not actually contribute very much to her kit. I'm going to knock that down a peg. The attack is important, but the boost is really underwhelming. So, alright, Tip Massage. Timas. 144, no movements. Well, this is a mid-speed, right? This is under curve by a significant margin. Critical hit, draw 3. That's huge, especially when you consider that it probably doesn't cost gauge. And actually, it better not cost gauge, because if this costs gauge, you're telegraphing it, and at range 1, it's your only crit other than this, which means the opponent plays Grasp, right? Like, if you play an actual crit at range 1, you're highly telegraphing, hey, play Grasp, it beats what I'm playing. Which you can use, but it's expensive. Maybe not super expensive, because we see that she doesn't necessarily use a lot of gauge. She needs this gauge, but then after she's succeeded, she can use gauge's force, and that's fine. Alright, hit spin up to 4 speed, 4 spin, +1 power. So that has the same problem as this over here, right? It's nice that it's safe. It's nice that it's another outlet of getting power on deck so that you can throw cards at the opponent consistently. but I think that hit effect is the most important part of this card. Well, the attack anyway. Let's see what this boost is. Cheater. Search your discard pile for continuous boost. You can play it paying all costs. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Get whatever you need. Want to play more stylishes? Play more stylishes. Need ignore armor right now? Get ignore armor. Need +2 speed so that you can play an ignore guard at on curve or above curve? Great, do it. This is fantastic. And the attack is actually better than the attack on this ultra over here. Although, now that I'm looking at it, I would be hard-pressed to play this attack instead of just boosting and grabbing stylish. Right? Because it's draw 3 either way. But this one I have to land the attack. This one I get to draw 3, take another action, choose something else that's easier to land. Yeah, I like Temple Massage. I like Cheater specifically as the best thing in her kit right now. Alright, first time. 1 2, 10, 2. 10 is a number. Set immunity. If you don't have continuous boost blades, it doesn't hit. Alright, so here's the problem. Range 1 2. Loses to grasp, loses to cross, loses to dive. I guess that's it. Heck of a punish on focus. But everything she has loses to cross or grasp, right? At the appropriate ranges. So first time doesn't do anything special there. And she has a decent number of ways to punish sweeps and foci. So people shouldn't generally feel safe against them, like playing those things. Which means this card doesn't really provide its own special value as an attack. It's just a big number. Not too impressed, honestly. What about the boost? Exoskeleton, excuse me. +3 armor, +1 guard. I mean, okay. That's, you know, a better armor ratio than defend, a worse armor ratio than block itself. 3 armor, 1 guard. 3 armor, 1 guard, notably. So, okay, here's the important thing. Blasting, 5 guard, nice. Like I said, mostly matters on assault. Same thing applies here. However, this can be paired with this to make Seismic Hammer better on offense against fast projectiles. So now you have defense and you're at speed 4, which means that you are faster than slow projectiles. You deal enough damage to outtrade like mid-speed projectiles and fast projectiles, and your after lets you move in so that you're not in range of them throwing the projectile again on their next turn. So actually, this is pretty good and pretty valuable for this combo specifically. On assaults, it's definitely better because you don't usually need 5, you only need 4, and you'd rather be armor than guard because armor's just better. So yeah, I'm gonna say that boost sits right in the middle. Stylish is amazing, Cheater is the best thing. And well, her Exceed ability is probably the best thing, and then Cheater. Actually, they're about the same. But that's how I break down Viper. In terms of what is contributing the most to her power budget. Just my personal thoughts, obviously. Well, thanks for the request, Simon P. If anybody watching this later wants to see particular characters' power budgets, or if you have character requests that you want to see me play in combats in the glorious arena of Exceed, then let me know. Drop a comment on one of the videos, and I will chalk it up.